Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of The Judge is Familiar. I'm Max, I'm a level 1 judge, and I'm going to be going over abilities with you guys today. So the first thing we need to know about abilities is that there's different types of abilities, 3 types to be exact. The first one are static abilities. Static abilities happen when it's just always there. Triggered abilities happen only after a certain event or before a certain event occurs. And activated abilities are something that you can activate and or pay mana or life to have them happen whenever you want. So let's go into each one with more detail. The first one we're going to talk about in detail is static abilities. Now static abilities generally do not contain a comma and do not contain a colon. This is how you can kind of differentiate them from other abilities. So examples of these are Fervor. Enchantment, creatures you control have haste. Now this is a static ability because it's always in effect no matter what. Other types of examples of static abilities include Angel of Jubilation, which actually has 3 static abilities. The first is Flying, the second gives your non-black creatures +1/+1, and the third states that players can't pay life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. What all these have in common is that they are always in effect. For example, let's look at Scapson Drake. It has 2 static abilities, one stating that it is flying, and a second saying that it can only block creatures with flying. Now, both of these abilities are always in effect, no matter what. The second type of ability are triggered abilities. Now, some keywords for triggered abilities are at, when, or whenever. And you'll see these a lot on cards. Most triggered abilities are marked by a comma. For example, Martial Law. At the beginning of your upkeep, comma, detain target creature an opponent controls. Triggered abilities normally happen once an event or once a turn phase happens. These are always marked by a comma, and remember, using the keywords at, when, or whenever. Another example of 2 triggered abilities on one card is Thragtusk. When Thragtusk enters the battlefield, comma, you gain 5 life, and when Thragtusk leaves the battlefield, comma, you get a 3/3 beast. Now, both of these are an example of certain requirements being met so that the other can resolve. Another example of triggered abilities are found on Harvester of Souls, using the keyword whenever. Whenever another non-token creature dies, comma, you may draw a card. So this is another stating that once the requirement is met, you may draw a card. Now the third type of abilities are activated abilities. Some keywords to activated abilities are any type of cost, the word pay, or the word discard before a colon. Now unlike triggered abilities, which are normally seen with a comma, activated abilities are normally seen with a colon. So for example, let's look at Griselbrand. Griselbrand says, pay 7 life, colon, draw 7 cards. So what happens is with this, at any time you can cast an instant, or whenever you have priority, you may pay 7 life as part of the payment cost, and then because of that, you can draw 7 cards. Another example of this is on Alchemist's Refuge. You can tap as the cost, and the colon gives you the effect. Add 1 to your mana pool. Or you may play a green and a blue, and the comma signifies, if the comma is before the colon, it signifies that there's other parts of the cost that has to be met. So this says blue-green, comma, tap, colon, which means that you must pay a blue and a green and tap it to use the ability. You may cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. Third type of activated ability is Sphinx of the Chimes. Discard 2 non-land cards with the same name, colon, draw 4 cards. So again, in order for you to draw 4 cards, you have to have the payment, which is discarding 2 non-land cards with the same name. Well, that's all I have to say about abilities. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode 2 of The Judge is Familiar. Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, if you have any recommendations for future episodes of The Judge is Familiar, or just questions about anything related to Judge, feel free to PM me, feel free to comment on the video. And again, I'm always looking for suggestions on how I can make this channel better. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, until next time, The Judge is Familiar.